Hi, I'm Ida, and at my own wedding shower, my mother stood up, looked around the room, and called me a spare womb, in front of my fiancé, my friends, my family. Then she gave my wedding gifts to my sister, said I should be grateful to even be included. But what hurt most was realizing this wasn't new. It was just the first time they said it out loud. What would you do if your family told the world you were never supposed to exist? End of response. It started over dinner, a Sunday evening. Everyone had already eaten, but they called it a catch-up meal. Mom reheated a casserole. Dad sat quietly, pretending to scroll through the weather. Janelle talked about a new client, a florist from Denver. I waited until her voice finally took a breath. I wanted to tell you all, I said, voice steady but small. Naomi and I picked our wedding date. It's October 21st. Silence. Then Mom blinked. Oh, October. That's the weekend Janelle was hoping for her launch event. Might be tricky. I looked at Janelle. She didn't look up from her phone. It's already booked, I said. We put down the deposit last week. Mom smiled the way you do when a child spills juice on a tablecloth. Sweetie, family comes first. You've always been the understanding one. I laughed, but it didn't reach my chest. We made the reservation months ago. I'm sure the venue has flexibility, she replied, tone sugared. You're so mature, Ida. Janelle's more sensitive. She needs structure. That night, Naomi asked what I wanted to do. I told her I'd think about it, but even as I spoke, I already knew I'd cave. I always did. The next morning, I called the venue and changed the date. Naomi didn't yell, but she stared at me in a way that didn't feel like support. I just want to keep the peace, I said. You mean keep them comfortable, she replied. She wasn't wrong. A week later, Naomi's dress arrived, custom-made, imported fabric. She was glowing. She said, let's drop it off at your mom's. Better safe than sorry. We did. 3 days after that, at brunch, Janelle laughed and said, that dress hugs in all the right places. Thanks, sis. Naomi turned to me. Mom chimed in, laughing. She only tried it on for fun. I didn't know Naomi was so territorial. The lace was stretched, one hem torn. I didn't say anything. Naomi didn't say anything either, but not because she forgave. She didn't trust my silence anymore. Back home, she pulled out her laptop and filed a claim for repairs. Don't worry, she said flatly. I'll pay for it. I remembered when I lent Janelle my blazer before her first job interview. I never got it back. She said she spilled coffee on it. But I saw it 2 weeks later in a selfie she posted online. I told myself it was just a dress, just a date, just a detail. It's strange how many details you can stack before they start to look like a pattern. One night, Naomi sat on the edge of the bed, phone in her lap. Ida, if this is how they treat you now, what will the wedding day look like? I was tired. I wanted sleep more than confrontation. It's fine. It'll calm down. They just need time to adjust. Naomi didn't respond. Her hands stayed folded in her lap. But I felt the shift. Not a crack. A slow lean. The start of space between us. I knew she was right. But saying so would mean doing something about it. And doing something meant burning a bridge I wasn't ready to walk away from. That was the first time Naomi said, if this were me, I'd walk away. But I still thought I could fix it. The next week came quiet. No texts from Mom. No check-ins from Janelle. Naomi had started printing mood boards and placing sticky notes around the kitchen, hoping to build some sense of progress. I tried to match her energy, but something was off. Naomi looked up from her laptop one night. Did they change florists? I shook my head. Not that I know of. You sure? She asked. Because Janelle posted a photo with a new vendor. It was tagged under Row Wedding Prep. I pulled out my phone and checked. The post was 3 days old. I hadn't seen it. Naomi stared at me. Are you not in the planning group? What group? She blinked. Cass, they've had a group chat going. You didn't know? Later that night, I asked Mom about it on the phone. She laughed gently. Oh, honey, we've just been bouncing around ideas. Janelle's leading the chat. It's easier that way. Who's in it? Oh, just the usual suspects. Me, Janelle, her assistant Kendall, Aunt Cora, and not me. I didn't say anything at first. She added, I didn't think you'd be interested in all the details. You always get overwhelmed with that kind of stuff. At some point, they stopped pretending I mattered in the decision-making. I had become a stamp on an envelope, there, but not needed to be opened. Naomi paced when I told her. You're not in the group chat for your own wedding? It's fine, I said. Less noise. No, she snapped. They're not just cutting you out, they're crafting a version of this wedding that doesn't include you at all. I didn't argue. I flashed back to every summer trip picked without asking, every school play missed because Janelle's recital came first. I told her, I'm used to it. Saying it made me feel tired, not mature, just tired. Naomi took a breath, long and disappointed. Well, I'm not. She didn't sleep in the bedroom that night, said she had work early. I didn't follow her, didn't protest. Something in me had grown used to people walking away after learning how quiet I could be. The following morning, my phone pinged. Chris, my best friend from college, sent a text. Yo, when's the big day? Trying to book a flight? Leon followed. Then Maya. None of them had heard a word. I opened the guest list spreadsheet Mom sent 2 weeks ago. Dozens of names, church folks, distant cousins, people I barely remembered, but not Chris, not Leon, not Maya. I called her. Mom, where are my friends? She sounded distracted. We had to trim. The venue only seats so many. Why didn't you tell me? You've been busy, she said. Besides, your side isn't really presentable for that kind of place. You know how they dress. It wasn't what she said. It was how casually she said it, like it was a brand edit, like I was a product she didn't want to promote too loudly. This is my life, I thought, not a brochure. Naomi sat across from me, sipping tea. She looked at me like she'd been expecting this conversation since the beginning. I'm not keeping peace anymore, I said. Good, she whispered. Because you've been disappearing trying to keep it. That night, she sat beside me on the couch, opened her laptop and said, Let's check what RSVPs have come in so far. I didn't have access. The RSVP link had already gone out, and I hadn't seen it. Naomi drove that morning. She didn't ask if I wanted to go. She just handed me coffee and said, Get in. I didn't ask where we were headed. I already knew. The brunch was at Stone Valley Lodge, a place I once said I liked for its view, not because I ever wanted it for my own wedding. Janelle, of course, did, so Mom booked it. It's for the family, she had told me. Just a small celebration before the big day. Let people see the process. I hadn't been asked to help plan it. I hadn't even been told it was happening until the invites were printed. When we walked in, Janelle was already taking photos in front of the floral backdrop, gold script behind her. Celebrating love. No names, no date, just a hashtag, Hat Row Event. Mara stood beside the mimosa bar, waving to guests like the host of a gala. When she saw me, she smiled like I was a cousin she hadn't seen in years. There's my steady one, she said, kissing my cheek. Always calm. Always reliable. Steady. That word again. The room quieted when she took the mic. I want to thank everyone for coming today. It means the world to see you all here to support what Janelle has built. That was the word she used, built. Naomi glanced at me. I felt something low in my chest, but I said nothing. Mara continued. Janelle has poured her heart into every detail of this wedding. The flowers, the menus, the layout, the guest flow, everything. She's made it beautiful. She paused, turned slightly toward me. And of course, our youngest, Ida, has always been steady. A quiet strength. That's what family needs, right? There was soft clapping. Then the lights dimmed. A projector clicked on. The first image was Janelle at age 3 in a tutu. Then at 5 holding a microphone, 9 in a princess costume, pageant photos, dance recitals, school awards, proms, her graduation, her business launch, more smiles, more sequins. I waited for a photo with both of us, something simple. One picture, then it hit the screen. Janelle in a white dress, and Peter, my ex-fiancé, standing beside her. It was from a charity gala years ago, a time when they were barely speaking. Or so I thought. Someone behind us chuckled. They looked good together, didn't they? Naomi didn't move. Her fingers curled around her glass. I swallowed, barely. When I turned to Mom, she whispered, "It was just a photo dump, honey. Don't make it a thing." I sat quietly. Under the tablecloth, my fingernails pressed into my palm until I felt skin give. The lights came back. Janelle wiped a happy tear and said, "Let's head outside to the seating area. Time for photos." The group moved. Naomi stood, helping me up without a word. We walked out together. Chairs were arranged on the lawn, each with gold tags. Janelle's was centered, embroidered backing, velvet cushion. Guests clustered around it for pictures. I searched. My name was on a folding chair behind the column, next to the DJ's speaker. "It's just logistics," Mom said from behind me. "You always prefer quieter spots." I didn't respond. I didn't even blink. Naomi leaned close. "They didn't forget you, Ida. They erased you. That's worse." I picked up the chair. Not hard, not loud, just deliberate. Walked it into the sun, placed it beside Naomi's, sat down. The camera clicked. I didn't smile. Later, while people mingled again, I stayed in the background. There's a type of silence that isn't submission. It's storage. People laughed, sipped champagne, passed around compliments. I pulled out my phone. "Photos?" Naomi asked gently. "Receipts," I said. She didn't ask more, just nodded. My therapist once told me, "Resentment is unspoken protest." What are you trying not to say? I didn't know the answer then, but I felt it starting to form now. They thought that brunch was the end of the show. But it was the first time I started writing a story I'd never let them control again. The tasting was supposed to be fun. That's what Naomi told me as we parked, both of us holding hands but not squeezing. The kind of touch that's there more for grounding than affection. We'd barely spoken in the car. Mara had planned it at a local event center, more formal than we expected, with a printed welcome banner out front that said, "Preview, a wedding journey." Her voice greeted guests before we even opened the door. Naomi leaned close. "Did you know she invited community board members?" I didn't. But I wasn't surprised. Inside, white linen stretched perfectly across every table, each centerpiece perfectly color-coordinated. It felt less like a wedding and more like a product launch. People milled about, sipping sparkling water and listening to Mara explain the concept behind intentional layout design, like she was coaching a TED Talk. And then came the cake reveal. 2 staff wheeled it in. 5 tiers, hand-piped detail, fresh orchids. It was stunning. But the gold calligraphy written across the top tier stopped me cold. Janelle Life. Just that. No mention of Naomi, no mention of me. Naomi stiffened. "Isn't this for us?" Mara waved a dismissive hand. "That design was actually made for another client, but they canceled. It was too beautiful to waste, and you two never submitted a name preference anyway." She smiled like it was logic, not dismissal. Naomi opened her mouth to speak again, but I touched her arm. "Not here, not like this." A photographer circled the room. He'd been snapping shots since we walked in, but when I started asking questions, he turned away, lifting the camera only when Janelle posed in front of the cake, hands delicately placed on her hips. I sat down. Later, while moving toward the drink table, I passed 2 cousins I hadn't seen in years. They whispered loud enough for me to catch a phrase that clung like grease to skin. "I still can't believe they kept the third one said. "Thought they'd, well, you know." The other giggled nervously. "Guess she was too far along." I stopped, but they didn't. My hands trembled around the glass I held. Naomi found me a few steps later and asked, "What did they say?" "Nothing," I said. "Nothing I didn't already suspect." When people hide things, it's usually not to protect you. It's to protect their comfort. That thought settled in my stomach, heavier than any cake slice would have. The room kept buzzing. Someone clapped. Someone else called out for Janelle to do another twirl. I watched Mara beam as if she were watching her legacy take center stage. Again, people from church, from the mayor's office, even vendors, everyone had something nice to say. But always to Mara. Always to Janelle. No one asked about Naomi. No one asked about me. A woman from the Branson Beautification Committee asked Mara if she was proud of how the wedding was shaping up. Mara, smiling, said, "It's a joy to see Janelle take charge. Every detail's got her touch. She's built this event from the ground up." Then, as if remembering me mid-sentence, she added, "Cassian? Oh, he's around somewhere." I was standing 6 feet from her. I didn't say a word, neither did Naomi, but I knew now I wasn't being overlooked. I was being deleted. We walked toward the display table with favors and seating cards. Naomi leaned in. "Your name isn't on the cake," she said, "but your credit card was." She wasn't being petty. She was being accurate. I started taking mental notes again. People, comments, poses. What was said when they thought I wasn't listening? What wasn't said at all? At one point, Naomi asked if I wanted to leave. I thought about it. But then I remembered something I read once, James Baldwin. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Walking out would have felt like retreat. Instead, I stayed, not to make peace, not to pretend, to witness, to remember, to document. "They want me to disappear," I told Naomi. "I won't give them that privilege." She nodded. We sat back down, pretending to enjoy the final tasting, a selection of champagne buttercream and almond rose. Then Naomi's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, froze. She leaned toward me and whispered, "Cassian, you need to read this. Now." Naomi and I pulled into my parents' driveway on a Sunday afternoon, 2 weeks into the gift deliveries. A stack of packages sat just inside the door. Ribbons, fragile stickers, clean corners, like someone had staged them for a catalog photo. I stepped inside, Naomi behind me. We had stopped for iced tea on the way, something to hold in our hands. Mom greeted us with a cheerful hum, like she'd been caught mid-hostess moment. "Some things came early. You know how generous family can be." Naomi bent down and picked up one of the boxes, cream paper, satin ribbon, a gold tag. "To Janelle and Michael," she read aloud. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. Naomi glanced at me and raised the corner of her brow. The tag was in my aunt's handwriting. The same aunt who'd called me 3 weeks ago saying, "I found the perfect gift for you two. Wait till you see it." I opened the box slowly, feeling something already split down the middle. Inside was the engraved wine box set Naomi and I had picked months earlier. Maple wood, our initials. The design I'd sent her in a long email chain titled Wedding Details. I carried the box to the kitchen. "Mom," I asked, "why is this tagged for Janelle?" She barely looked up. "It wasn't labeled clearly, and Janelle really liked it. I thought you'd be okay sharing. She's the face of the wedding, after all." I set the box down. "You could have asked." "Well," she said, "your aunt should have made it more obvious. And Janelle's always been the one people want to give to. It's not personal." I turned and walked out of the kitchen, out of the house, and into the car. Naomi followed without a word. We didn't talk on the drive back. The box stayed behind. A few days later, we were invited back to help with the memory wall, a giant collage for the reception. Mara had been collecting photos for weeks. Naomi had scanned ours, sent digital copies. Inside the living room, the wall was already set, rows of framed images. Janelle from birth to now, birthdays, recitals, speaking events, her first apartment, her dog, her and Mom at award dinners. Naomi and I had one frame, one. It was the photo from our engagement shoot, placed quietly near the hallway, next to the guest restroom. She stood still. "That one had the best lighting," Mom said as she passed behind us. "And it's in a high traffic spot. Everyone will see it." Naomi turned to me. "I can't do this anymore, not if you're going to stay quiet." She wasn't asking for a fight. She was asking for a spine. I took a picture of the frame and emailed it to myself. We didn't stay much longer. Something shifted after that. I stopped feeling hot about it. No more anger, no yelling in my head, just numb. You don't break all at once, I remember thinking. You just stop noticing how deep the cracks run. Naomi sat me down again. "We should cancel. Or at least pause." I looked at her. We'll get through it, I said. For ourselves. She narrowed her eyes. Moving on shouldn't look like disappearing. I started creating folders, one for photos, one for messages, one labeled financial, another titled The Erasure. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't make announcements. I just saved things. The following Saturday, Naomi and I were scrolling through Facebook at a diner downtown. My cousin had just gotten engaged and posted a string of photos from his wedding shower. In the third picture, next to the cake, sat the wine box set. Ours. The same one my aunt sent. The same one Mara redirected. She said it was a duplicate, the caption read. Such a thoughtful gift from Aunt Gwen. I showed Naomi. She didn't speak, neither did I. I took a screenshot, dropped it into the erasure folder. That evening, I got a text from my father. 3 words. Meet me tomorrow. The shower was supposed to be the warm-up, something light, something simple. But nothing with my mother was ever light or simple. Naomi and I arrived late on purpose, hoping most of the greetings would be over. The room was full. Big floral arches, champagne towers, soft jazz piped through speakers like we were walking into a country club gala. Mara stood near the entrance, hugging guests like she'd missed them for years. When she saw us, she gave a wide smile, like we were the final piece in a photo shoot. There's my calm couple, she said. Fashionably late. You always know how to make an entrance. Naomi and I didn't respond. Inside, the theme was all Janelle. Her colors, her monogram subtly stamped onto the favors, the signage, even the napkins. Naomi nudged me toward the dessert table. The banner above read, Celebrating Love. No names, not mine, not Naomi's. A few guests gave speeches, all about Janelle, her eye for design, her leadership. One even thanked her for bringing the whole vision together. I looked around. No one corrected them. Naomi whispered, This looks more like Janelle's baby shower than our wedding event. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because I knew she was holding back more. Then Mara stepped up with a microphone. I just want to take a moment, she began, to share some words from the heart. She talked about sacrifice, as if that word belonged solely to her, about parenting, about how hard it is when not all children meet expectations. She didn't name names. She didn't need to. Then she said it. Let's be real. You were just a spare womb, and now you want a crown for it? There it was. The room froze. Someone cleared their throat. Another sipped their drink. A few eyes darted toward me, then back down to their plates. I didn't move. Naomi's hand slid under the table, wrapping around mine. My fingers were stiff, not from shock, from holding myself still. And then, applause. Light at first, then a few nods, like what she said was brave, honest. I didn't break, but something shifted. Later, during the gift opening, Mara handed me a small envelope. From me to you, she said sweetly. A token. I opened it. Inside, a check, torn in half, and a note. Some things don't need to be bought to be remembered. Naomi stood up. We're done, she said. But I grabbed her wrist gently. Let her finish. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. I need to see it all, I said quietly. I folded the note, placed it in my jacket. I didn't look at Mara again, but I watched everyone else, who clapped, who looked away, who didn't move at all. On the way home, silence sat between us. Naomi finally broke it. You're not going to forgive that, right? I stared at the road ahead. I'm not going to fight it either. I'm going to expose it. That night, I started uploading files, screenshots, photos, audio snippets. A folder labeled Legacy, Not Lies. There are fights you yell through. Then there are wars you win in silence. I poured a drink, sat on the couch, and opened my phone. A notification popped up. Janelle has gone live. The caption read, Some people can't handle not being the center of the story. I clicked. And in less than 5 seconds, I knew I wasn't just being excluded anymore. I was being erased on purpose. Dad asked me to meet him at the diner by the old courthouse, same one he used to take us to when we were kids, Back when Janelle still wore braids and I thought pancakes were magic. I got there early. He was already seated, hands wrapped around a black coffee, staring at the window like it owed him something. He didn't ask how I was, didn't mention the shower, just slid a paper envelope across the table toward me. I didn't know what to do with it, he said. I didn't open it. Your mother. She has her way, he added, like that somehow fixed what she said. I looked at him. And what's your way, Dad? Watching it happen? He didn't answer. We sat in silence after that. When the check came, he paid. Like always. Like we were still pretending things were normal. In the car, I opened the envelope. Inside, a CD with no label. I didn't own a CD player anymore. But I found one in an old box in the garage, next to things Mom told me to pack up after college and never asked about again. It took a minute to load, and then I heard her voice, Mara, on the phone, calm, composed, clear. Cassian's always been the placeholder, she said. This wedding is Janelle's launch pad. Let him have the illusion. It keeps him cooperative. I didn't move, didn't blink, just let it play. Naomi came in halfway through. She didn't ask what it was, just sat beside me, listening. Her silence didn't feel distant this time. It felt grounded, like armor, like she was absorbing every word. When it ended, I exhaled. Not in shock, in confirmation. I began clipping the recording, marking timestamps, created a new folder in my cloud drive and labeled it Legacy Files. I wasn't angry anymore, I was awake. Anger burns out, strategy builds. 2 days later, Janelle went live on Instagram. Naomi showed me the screen while we were eating lunch. Janelle was trying on veils, swirling in front of a mirror with friends behind her. One of them, off camera, said, "Cassian's just tagging along. He's lucky to even be part of this." Janelle laughed. Right, but hey, family first, even if some members came out as extras. Naomi paused the video. I didn't say anything. Just reached for my phone, screen recorded the entire thing, and saved it in the folder. I didn't post. Didn't message her. But I did change my profile bio. Some extras learn how to rewrite the script. That same night, I opened the audio clip again. Then I opened a browser, navigated to the local community Facebook group, Branson Locals Connect. I uploaded the clip, paired with one line. When a parent says this about their child, do they still get to call it love? No name, no context, no tag. I posted it anonymously. By midnight, it had over 2,000 reactions. Comments came fast, some shocked, some angry, some in denial. A few guessed who it was. Most didn't have to. Naomi printed out every photo, every exchange, every financial record, placed it all in a folder, laid it on the table like she was setting down bricks. "We're ready," she said. That was when my phone rang. An unknown number. I picked up. A man's voice. Older, professional. "I'm the editor of the Branson Weekly. We've been tracking a community post that's gone viral. I wanted to ask, would you be willing to speak off record at first?" I didn't need their apology anymore. I needed the truth to finally have a witness. The brunch was held at Aunt Cora's place, the kind of backyard gathering that always ended with somebody crying in the bathroom and someone else bragging about their casseroles. Naomi and I showed up late again, but this time on purpose, not to avoid the show, but to control when we entered it. Naomi brought printed invitations, real ones, classy, heavy paper. She handed them out to the older guests with care, smiling, chatting like she wasn't quietly bracing for what we both knew was coming, and it came. Mrs. Halbrook, a longtime family friend, squinted at the invitation, then said with a warm laugh, "Who decided to include both mothers' names? That's different." We didn't have to turn. We felt Mara's presence before she spoke. She cut across the yard like wind through dry leaves. "That is not how this family presents itself," she snapped. People fell silent. Forks stopped midair. Naomi froze beside me, but I stayed still. "Including that woman's name next to mine?" Mara hissed. "On my son's wedding invite?" I stood. "No," I said. "On my wedding invite. And she's my family now. That moment cracked something in the air. Aunt Cora turned away, embarrassed. Uncle Lee coughed. The sound of someone scooting a metal chair across concrete filled the space. Naomi lifted her glass. To mutual respect, she said. Long overdue. Nobody clapped. Nobody needed to. Later, after the tension gave way to dessert and small talk, Naomi and I found ourselves seated near the patio, within earshot of Aunt Ray and a few others. She was sipping sweet tea and recounting a story about someone's retirement party when she let it slip. It's amazing how things worked out, she said, especially after what happened with the first pregnancy. A woman beside her asked, What do you mean? Ray lowered her voice, but not enough. You know, when Mara had to terminate, before Cassian came along. It was quiet after that. Naomi didn't blink. I didn't breathe. Ray caught herself too late. But that was so long ago, she said quickly, laughing like it was just gossip. I looked at Mara. She wouldn't look at me. Just adjusted her necklace and stared at her phone. I wasn't the plan. I was the patch job, the do-over, a replacement for something they mourned but never talked about, and they wondered why I didn't feel like I belonged. I excused myself, walked into the house, and locked the bathroom door. The counter was cold under my hands. I stared at myself in the mirror, wondering how many other people knew and never told me. Naomi knocked once and came in. She didn't say anything. You okay? She asked softly. I'm more than okay, I said. Now I know. Back in the car, I opened my phone, opened the drive, opened the folder. This time, I didn't hesitate. Uploaded the audio, the screenshots, the video clips. Caption, No one gets to edit my existence, not anymore. I hit post. Within minutes, it was everywhere. The group chat lit up, Mara's name flashing, texts pouring in. I muted it, turned the screen face down, took Naomi's hand. I wasn't hiding anymore. That evening, I got a message from the editor of the Branson Weekly. The post went viral, he wrote. People are asking questions. We want to cover it. We met after dinner. His office was small, dusty, and smelled like old toner. He didn't record, just listened. I told him about the years of subtle edits, how family stories were rewritten, how names were shuffled, how I was always either too much or not enough. He took notes by hand. At the end, he said, This isn't just family drama. This is generational. It matters. When I walked out, I didn't feel powerful, just lighter, not because justice had come, but because the lie couldn't breathe anymore. Later that night, my phone buzzed. Mara, one message. We need to talk. Before you destroy everything. But I wasn't the one who had built everything on silence. I just stopped protecting it. She asked me to come alone. Naomi offered to drive me, but I told her no. If this was going to end, it needed to be just me and her. I parked a block away from the house and walked the rest of the distance, like I needed those extra steps to be sure. Mara opened the door like nothing had happened. No greeting, just turned and walked toward the kitchen. I didn't expect you to air our laundry like that, she said, not looking up. You didn't have to humiliate me. I stood in the middle of the room, hands in my coat pockets. She poured herself a glass of water. Family matters stay in the family. That's how it works. No, I said. That's how silence works. She scoffed. So what now? You're the victim and I'm the monster? I didn't answer. She kept going, said the audio was taken out of context, that Aunt Ray had a bad memory, that none of this was malicious. We've all had bad days. I let her talk. Then I pulled the wedding invitation from my coat pocket. The one with Naomi's mother's name printed in bold, next to Mara's. I placed it on the counter and slid it toward her. That's the family I'm building now, I said. And we don't edit people out. She stared at the invitation like it was a resignation letter. And in some way, it was. I didn't wait for a response. I turned and left. 2 days later, a letter arrived in the mail. Handwritten. Short. From my father. He said he saw the post. Said he understood why I did it. I kept peace, he wrote. Where I should have stood up. I thought I was protecting you. but I was really just protecting myself from discomfort. I folded the letter neatly and placed it in the drawer next to the torn check Mara had given me at the shower. Some apologies don't lead to reconciliation. They're just documentation, records for the archive of what we survived. Naomi and I didn't cancel the wedding. We just moved it. A friend offered their backyard. Nothing fancy. Mismatched chairs. A string of dollar store lights. No DJ, no hashtag, no floral installation. Just people who knew who the wedding was actually for. During the vows, Naomi took my hands and said, "I'm not here to fix what broke you. I'm here to build what they couldn't imagine." I didn't cry. Not then. Instead, I reached into my pocket and unfolded the old embroidered napkin my father gave me years ago, back when we still believed the story we'd been told about us was worth saving. I laid it on the table beneath our hands. What once had been a reminder of loyalty to a family I could never please, now became the foundation of something better. Something honest. Since the post, Mara stepped down from every committee. She stopped showing up at church. A few relatives blocked me. Others reached out quietly, said things like, "We always wondered," or, "I'm sorry it happened that way." I deleted the files from the public drive, not out of guilt, but because the truth had already done its job. I wasn't the spare, I was the silence they underestimated. You don't always get justice from the people who hurt you, but you do get to leave the places where harm wore a family name. That night, I opened my laptop, just checking email, and there it was, an unread message from someone I didn't know. Subject line, "That was my life too."